each one that you give us, and help us to always not take them for granted, put them to good use to further your work. We ask that you would be with us tonight, help us to conduct this service, this study, in the way you would have us do it, where it glorifies you and your Son. We ask that you be with all the members of the sick and under the weather, be with George as he's traveling with his family, with the lectureship in Nicaragua, Guatemala, wherever it was at. Be with them, keep them safe, and bring them back. We ask all this in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I'm in Proverbs. We're going to talk to Proverbs, the 6th chapter. Broke it down. I think I've got it in 4 different fields. We'll start with the first 5 verses in Proverbs. My son, if you become surety for your friend, if you have shaken hands and pledged for a stranger, you are snared by the words of your mouth. You are taken by the words of your mouth. To do this, my son, and deliver yourself, for you have come into the hand of your friend. Go and humble yourself. Plead with your friend. Give no sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, and like a bird from the hand of the flower. Flower. Okay. I had a real problem with these first 5 verses because I think I read them wrong. But I found that if you turn over to Philemon's, it says nearly the opposite. And the Bible doesn't contradict itself. So I'm going to put everybody on the notice. They're going to have to help me work my way through these first 5 verses. I say the first 5 verses basically are saying be careful against guaranteeing someone else's actions. I says, because you become surety for your friend. I says, don't do it. And I had a real problem with that. You turn over to Philemon's. There's only 1 chapter there, but that's where Paul was speaking up for Amos, who was in jail with him. And if we read it, it's the opposite of what I just read in Proverbs, nearly. But like I say, I know the Bible doesn't conflict. We've been studying this in men's class, how we have to take bigger picture, because it doesn't go. If you look here in verse 8, therefore, though I might be very bold in Christ to command you what is fitting, yet for love's sake I'd rather appeal to you, being such a one as Paul, the aged, and now also a prisoner of Jesus Christ, I appeal to you for my son Onus, who I have begotten while in my chains, who once was unprofitable to you, but now is profitable to you and to me. I am sending him back. You therefore receive him, that is my own heart, whom I wish to keep with me, that on your behalf he might minister to me in my chains for the gospel. But without your consent I wanted to do nothing, that your good deed might not be compulsion, as it were, voluntary. For perhaps he departed for a while for this purpose, that you might receive him forever, no longer as a slave, but more than a slave, a beloved brother, especially to me, but how much more to you, both in the flesh and in the Lord. If then you count me as a partner, receive him as you would me. But if he has wronged you or owes you anything, put it on my account. I am Paul, and writing to you in my own hand, I will repay, not to mention that you owe me even your own self besides. So, you see my dilemma, because here Paul is guaranteeing somebody else's. But here in Proverbs, it says, my son, if you become surety for your friend, you have shaken hands in pledge stranger. You are snared by the words of your mouth. So what is, I think I got it figured out, but I wanted y'all's opinion to make sure I'm on the right page. Because it's just opposite of what Paul just done in Philemon. So, why? What's the difference?
I think that in Proverbs, what he's saying is don't co-sign a loan. Especially, in this case, it's not even a relative. Don't co-sign a loan. Don't put your name on a credit card account. Don't open a business line of credit with somebody else, because they could leave you holding the bag. And especially in their day where there was debtor prison, you could literally wind up being somebody's slave because of your guarantee for somebody else's debt. In the case with Paul and Onesimus, I think Paul is saying to Philemon, I taught you the gospel and you owe me your very soul. Now I've taught Onesimus the gospel, and he's kind of in the same boat, and I know that physically he belongs to you, but compared to what you owe me spiritually, I think you need to take that into account and just write it off. Because now he's a Christian. He's going to be better than the slave that you command. He's going to be a brother.
I understand, but it says, but if then you count me as a partner, receive him as you would me. But if he has wronged you or owes you anything, put it on my account. So he is guaranteeing paying off his bill. So that's basically the same thing, the way I looked at it. But there still had to be what is the difference between the two stages? Of course, he has, Amos was in prison too. I'm sure because he'd run away as a slave, right? That's the way I took it. Over here, he had left his owner, which you could be in jail forever or die because of his owner. But he said he was once unprofitable to you, but now is profitable to you and to me. So we had to change it hard. So how do we? The problem I had with it. What do we do when somebody comes to us and asks us to help them get a loan, or guarantee a loan, or loan them $1? Basically, this here to me is saying don't do it, because then besides what you can't control what they do, but you're liable for what they do. So you're going to owe a debt that you can't really pay, is the way I take it. So, but I know the Bible don't contradict itself. So how did Paul take on Amos' debt?
If somebody else has an opinion, I'll let them speak first. But
I think Brandon's strong enough to say something.
I'm catching maybe 50% of what you're saying, but what?
You can't hear me?
Sorry?
You can hear me?
Not very well, no. But it's not you. I've been hacking a cough and it's got my ears ringing. But it sounds like Proverbs is talking about like a cosigner, a monetary thing. And Paul is talking, he is vouched for Onesimus in a spiritual sense. And is trying to, Onesimus is a slave, right?
Right.
And he's left his master, and Paul has sent him back and asking mercy on Onesimus. But it sounds like Proverbs, someone got themselves in a bind with their mouth. And I think that's different from what Paul's done. Paul is vouching for someone in their good character spiritually, but I think in this other deal, their mouth ran ahead of them, and it's telling the reader in Proverbs, if you let your mouth run ahead of you, maybe you co-sign for someone or you vouch for someone, do whatever you got to do to fix it.
And I also think that in the case of Philemon, Paul's already said, I'm an old man and I'm in prison. I don't think that he has much expectation of being able to physically pay money in debt. I think what he's doing there is, like Brandon said, spiritually, but, if Onesimus was a runaway slave, it's possible that he took something from the house to help pay for his escape. So it could be very real that he owes him something, but Paul's saying, okay, but you, Philemon, what do you owe me? Because
What does Philemon know? Philemon don't owe him anything.
when you listen to it, it sounds like it.
Well, that's what, does he
But-
know Paul? Paul didn't do nothing.
Right. But Paul's saying, I'm the one that came at my expense and I taught you the gospel. And that's worth something, because that's not worth nothing. And so, whatever it is you feel like he owes you,
Put it on my account.
you just put it on there and we'll call it even.
You can't call it even. It says, but if he has wronged you or owes you anything, put it on my account. I'm writing you in my own hand. I will repay. But he did add on, but not to mention that you still owe me. It kind of got me when I went over to Philemon, and then I went back, and then I got more confused, and I got bigger and deeper in the wreck, 'cause I know I look at things the wrong way, and I wanted y'all to. Now, I read 2 commentaries, and I didn't like either one of them. I didn't like their answer. I didn't agree with either one of them. Matthew Henry's old guy, I guess. He had to be real old because he talks like they did way back there. And his writings are from the old King James. So I know that's further back. But he said, I was hoping y'all could give me another example beside Onesimus here. But I know Jesus spoke up for others and stood up for them. So they can't be saying you can't be sure of it. I say, Brandon, don't bother that guy. I promise he's a good guy. And you put your name on the line, because if he ain't a good guy, then I've ruined my reputation. Yes.
There's the greatest example in the world in Jesus.
I agree.
He did that. He took, sin and stamped it right on it. He vouched, he's basically an intercessory for us,
He
between
did
us and God.
exactly what he's saying don't do here.
And look what it
I
cost
don't
him.
think it said
Don't
don't do
cost
that.
him his life. Jesus, but willingly died for all of us.
Right.
But what I'm saying, and we know he spoke up for others in the Bible. I couldn't call him out of my head, but we all know Jesus helped people that nobody else would have at all.
I think Proverbs is just saying, if you let your mouth get you in a bind, don't rest until you fix it.
Well, and because if you guarantee for somebody, then you're liable. Period.
Yeah.
So you owe it. It's just like if you owe the debt yourself. I read it that you can't owe for somebody you're not controlling. You cannot. He said they're saying don't put your reputation on the line for somebody else. But as Christians, are we not supposed to help each other? I really this is something. 3 days I just eat on them 5 verses and then just eat my lunch.
And I think also, though, there's the idea of if I have $1,000 in the bank, but I guarantee somebody a loan for $5,000, now what if that comes back? Now I'm in a wreck, and that's where I could be literally, in their world, sold as a slave. In today's world, I could lose my house, my car, whatever. If, on the other hand, I've got $1,000 in the bank and I guarantee $50 for somebody, then I don't really run much risk of losing everything on that. So I think it comes down to, number one, it doesn't seem to be a spiritual matter in Psalms. It doesn't seem to be that he's sponsoring somebody for a mission trip, for example. But it seems to be physical, monetary things. And it seems to be enough of a debt that it could not be something that you could just write a check for right then and get paid off.
Richard, you had a comment?
This is as a term of guidance to a young man. Young guys tend to overload themselves with too much debt, making promises
So,
Be smarter than that. I mean, we've all done, I borrowed money, I couldn't pay back, hardly. It was a struggle.
You got somebody else that knows about that. Overload yourself.
Yeah, and that's what all this is.
But it's still, and I've come to an answer for myself, but I wanted to, y'all to tell me, sometimes you have to say, these guys have to tell me, you ain't looking at it right, you're still. Matthew Henry said, this is somebody you don't know.
Well, it's
Lehman.
a neighbor.
Fleeman and Amos, he knew him, and he had come to Christ, and you, but it doesn't say it, it said, if you become surety for your friend, it doesn't say you're a Christian brother. To me, it just got me all bumfuzzled, but I come to the conclusion that Paul knew, and he was putting his reputation on the line for Amos, because he had become a Christian, and we have to support each other. That's what we're doing here tonight, support each other.
So what's that scripture says, do good to all men, especially a household of faith.
Yes. So I say that Paul did not contradict what Solomon says, so I'm not looking at it quite right. But then Matthew Henry said that this is somebody you just knew. But, I say if you say it's your friend, then you know them better enough to be friends. I know a lot of people that I don't call friends because I don't know them well enough. I know guys I call friends, and sometimes I scratch my head and wonder why. Same as they do me, I'm sure. But anyway, it really bothered me. You see, I put it in here. Paul here is standing up for Amos. What's the difference? Paul was in prison with Amos. He saw him change and become a Christian. He saw his life change, and he had confidence to support that change. But this isn't what it said here. It was kind of unclear for me. And as Todd well knows, when I get something hung up in my brain, me and him will argue about it for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks or a month, and I'm just hard-headed and don't want to change my thing. I usually lose the argument before it's all over with, but it takes a while. Jesus helped people too and spoke up for them. So, and I think as Christians, we have to stand up and speak up, especially for our brethren. I mean, it said we're supposed to help our brothers and sisters.
Christ had another advantage, of course. He knew everybody's heart, knew the way they thought. He knew what was going to happen.
So I know what, I took that as difference now. Y'all won't think I'm nuts, but I'm going to read 1 Corinthians. I don't know how that fits in, but it does in my brain. So y'all try to figure it out. You can figure out what my think process is. And none of them, Matthew Henry, none of them told me to go to this verse. But I looked it up. And I spent 3 days on these first 5 verses. 1 Corinthians 7th chapter. I can't find Corinthians now. I know where it is. 7th chapter. And I'm going to read it and y'all scratch your head more. 7th chapter, verses 20 through 24. That each one remain in the same calling in which he was called. Were you called while a slave? Do not be concerned about it. But if you can be made free, rather use it. For who is called in the Lord while a slave is the Lord's free man. Likewise, who is called while free is Christ's slave. You were bought at a price. Do not become slaves of men. Brethren, let each one remain with God in the state in which he was called. Verse 23 is the one I was wanting to emphasize. You were bought at a price. Do not become slaves of men. If you're guaranteeing credit or speaking up for men, then you are could be easily become his slave who you spoke up for, because you're going to owe his debt.
Now, the borrower is slave to the lender.
What?
Huh?
What'd you say?
I said, Proverbs tells us about the borrower is slave to
The
the lender.
lender. Yes. And it says, we all know, but anyway, it just got me real confused, but reason why we were bought at a price. Paul knew Almas had been changed. He'd become a Christian. He said it. So does that make it? Anyway, it's just something. But I decided that you have to be very careful, but we still have to help. Too many people helped me over the years, and said, how do you repay that? By passing it forward, helping somebody else. Because the guys that helped me don't need my help, never did. So how do you repay somebody that really helped you when you was in a bind for something? You have to help somebody else that was in a bind. So, and that's what Jesus done. That's what God done. He sent Jesus down here to save us out of the bind we was in. So it's really complicated now. But I know it doesn't contradict itself. My conclusion came. We have to become very careful of owing the debt. We become a slave to worldly ways, not God ways. My conclusion is, God's got to be in the middle of a decision. If you decide to help somebody, it's got to be furthering God's will, not our will. That's what I found. That's the only way I could get my arms around deciding, are we doing it? Helping somebody to just be a big shot? Are we helping somebody to help them? Because helping somebody for the wrong reason is just as bad as helping somebody, I mean, you just made the deal worse. I don't know how to, but you have to keep God in the equation, and then you have to help him, because that's what he does. When we tell somebody about God that never known it, we're helping them, hoping we're saving their life. But we have to be careful not to lose our own salvation for the wrong reasons, I guess. So but if we keep God in all of our actions, we've got to pay it anyways. So anyway, I've got two more verses. First Peter. I'm going to get Paul to come down again and be fighting my head some more. I mean, and I know it. I don't know why my brain does what it does, but it does. First Peter, first chapter, verse 13. And there again, this is a hard one to put together. But therefore, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober and rest your hope fully upon the grace that is to be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. As obedient children, not conforming yourselves to the former lust as in your ignorance, but as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct, because it is written, be holy, for I am holy. And if you call on the Father, who without partiality judges according to each one's works, conduct yourselves throughout the time of your stay here in fear, knowing that you were not redeemed with corruptible things like silver or gold from your aimless conduct received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as a lamb without blemish and without spot. So this is where I come to the conclusion we have to do it as God did. We've got to help somebody. It's got to be for holy reasons. It's got to be to further God. Is what, can you stand surety for somebody? Yes, I think you have to. Only if it's furthering God's way. You got to take you out of the equation and put God in your place. Would God have me help this guy or would he not? It's a judgment call we make every day in our lives. We have to make judgment calls. Who we're going to help, and you have to turn some people down. But it goes back to pray about it and make sure you're doing what God would have you do. Then, if we do that, we're good. And then, don't ask me why I put Ephesians in here, but I got it, so I might as well read it. Because I don't even remember what he said. Ephesians 5th chapter, verses 6 and 7. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not be partakers with them. So we've got to be careful who we stand up for and who we don't. That's, real careful. And then he's warned us, double check it, make sure it's God's warned us to do it. Anyway, that's my conclusion was that. So now we're going, the rest of it is Solomon, and it's a lot easier to understand for me than the rest of it. But them first 5 verses really got me. I hope I haven't got y'all messed up as I've been. But let's read 6 through 11. Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no captain, overseer, or ruler, provides her supplies in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you slumber, O sluggard? When will you rise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall your poverty come on you like a prowler, and your need like an armed man. Now, of course, I had to look up I knew what slaughtered meant. That's King James. I ought to modernize my Bible and get better words. What does one of y'all say in verse 6? Instead of slaughter. Ma'am?
Sluggard.
Okay. Somebody reading a newer Bible.
Mine's NIV.
NIV says slumber too. That's lazy. I looked it up on the dictionary. Lazy, procrastination, not sticking to anything, just, you see, we know a lot of people like that.
Lazy bones,
Lazy bones?
NLT.
Okay, one deal says lazy bones, but that's what it's saying, don't be lazy. Because lazy people don't get nothing done. They're their own worst enemies. So, we can look up. Philippians, 3rd chapter. 3rd chapter, verse 17 and 18. Brethren, join in following my example, and note these who so walk, as you have as for a pattern. For many walk, whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are enemies of the cross of Christ. We are to live our lives with a purpose. And if you don't, it's a sad life. What's our purpose as Christians supposed to be? We all know. We're Christians, we're slaves to Jesus Christ. Is what we're supposed to be doing, following God. What Jesus comes for, follow God, to glorify God, and that's what and the Bible, many places, I didn't pick them up, but it says you got to work. If you don't work, you shouldn't eat. The Bible never wanted lazy people. It doesn't believe in it. It says that's and y'all heard me say it 100 times. My dad always said when we was kids, you got so much energy, you're going to put it to work, to good or bad. The only guy that you can't fix that with is one that ain't got enough energy to do nothing. Then you can't save him because he's too lazy to get him to move. But we do have, if we have a purpose, we will follow that purpose. If we don't have a purpose, we'll just drift around, get in all kinds of things.
Way off chasing rabbits.
All
But that's why the idea of in heaven all you're going to do is sit on clouds all day that's wrong. We're going to have a job to do there too.
You're not going to sit around. God never did he do nothing but condemn laziness. And then we can look at Titus. I got Titus 6, the 2nd chapter. 2nd chapter, verse 6 to 8. Likewise, exhort the young men to be sober-minded in all things, showing yourself to be a pattern of good works, and doctrine showing integrity, reverence, incorruptibility, sound speech cannot be condemned, that one who is an opponent may be ashamed, having nothing evil to say of you. That's our purpose in life. We're supposed to help others get through it and not give them a reason to. Hey, he's a Christian, look at him. He's acting worse than I do. Our purpose is to glorify God, not to make it worse. So we've got to remember that. It says we're to be a good example. And then we can go back to Proverbs, the 10th chapter. Verse 4 says it. I like it way better. Of course, this is Solomon again talking, but in chapter 10, verse 4, he who has a slack hand becomes poor, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Does that mean he's going to make rich money?
Are you
It
gonna read
has
Matthew
nothing to do
Henry?
with money. It's just saying.
Are you gonna use Matthew Henry's quote, or do you want me to read it? I didn't know if you already, I didn't want to jump the gun.
Read it.
Talk about verse 6. Diligence in business is every man's wisdom and duty, not so much that he may attain worldly wealth as that he may not be a burden to others or scandal to the church. So,
What was that? Which verse?
for verse 6,
Huh?
well, not necessarily just verse 6, but
Oh, okay.
6 through 11.
Well, that's what I say. That's exactly what it means. It doesn't mean, I love the way you put it, but the hands of the diligent makes rich. Makes rich, but it's not talking about
Not
money.
worldly wealth.
It's talking about, we
Taking
do our
care of
job.
your family.
What our purpose is here on earth is to glorify God. If we glorify God, we're going to be rich. We're going to receive heaven. I think I can move on now to verses 12 to 15. And then it's on a different 12 to 15. The wicked man, a worthless person, the wicked man walks with a perverse mouth. He winks with his eyes, he shuffles his feet, he points with his fingers. Adversity is in his heart. He devises evil continually. He sows discord. Therefore, his calamity shall come suddenly. Suddenly he shall be broken without remedy. Wow. Of course, that's it's saying how we're supposed to treat. I've got down there. Your character will be bringing out your faith. I'll put down. Clearly states character and what happens with your character. Your character brings your results of your life. So, we'll go to 1 Thessalonians. First Thessalonians 5, verse 2 and 3. For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then suddenly destruction comes upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. That's what it said. Your deeds are going to get rewarded. You're going to get it, whatever it is. What it said in verse 15, therefore his calamity shall come suddenly. Suddenly he will be broken without remedy. There is a price you're going to pay for your actions. That's what that, from 12 through 15. Then we go 16 through 19. And now, this is the best part of this chapter. These 6 things the Lord hates. Yes, 7 are the abomination to him. 6 things he hates. Yes, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, one who sows discourse among brethren. Wow. We all know that one of them. There's lots of verses we can use there. But 7 things God hates. men have a bit more trouble with that than women. Very few women have near the pride problem that men have. That's my own personal, that's what Todd says instead of me, it's what Todd said, this is my opinion, not the Bible's. But I know with my pride, it gets me in more trouble than anything I've ever had. And it was the hardest thing to give up. Because when you give up your pride, I took it as being weak. And it's because you got a problem with pride. You know, a man that knows, has confidence in his ability, will not have a problem by not acting tough or not being prideful. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but I've learned the guys you really respect are not worried about what you think of them. They have confidence that what they're doing is what God wants and goes on. But it's, to me, women don't have to prove themselves like men. I mean, that's my pride that bothers me is that I can't show weakness. And why men think they have to be stouter than women, they're not. Let me assure you, it's men. I'm
Because the
53
Bible
years married,
says to
I've
treat,
learned something.
the Bible says to treat her as someone weaker. That's why.
Well, maybe that's why, but it's not what it means.
No.
But what it means, because like I say, after 53 years, I've learned I lose every battle. It just takes a while. I don't lose them right at the first, but before it's over with, I've lost the battle. So why? Because I'm stubborn and I argue. But see, that's the first one's pride. Proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. I bet all of us has had a little bitty problem with our lying tongue. My tongue's got me in more trouble than anything I've ever done in life. I mean, and why? And the Lord says it's your tongue is the most dangerous tool you have. And it is. And when you talk before you think, it's all you're going to do is be in big trouble. Because you'll probably regret whatever you said because you didn't think it out before you said it. So we don't want to remember that. That was pretty simple. So there's a bunch I have 12 verses here, but we all know that God, we don't have to talk about a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift to run to evil, false witness. We all know that's something from the start to the finish. God hates them sins. So 20 to 23. Son, my son, keep your father's command, and do not forsake the law of your mother. Bind them continually upon your heart. Tie them around your neck. When you roam, they will lead you. When you sleep, they will keep you. And when you wake, they will speak for you. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law a light. Reproofs of instruction are the way of life. I got 1 Peter 1 and 19. It's what one verse that I wrote down to kind of cover that. Let me read it to you. 1 Peter 1 and 19. But with the precious blood of Christ as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. I messed up something there. I wrote it down wrong or something, because that doesn't, I read that one earlier, but that doesn't fit with what. But he's saying, keep the Father's commandments and you'll be out of trouble. Do not forsake the law of your mother. Everything Mom and Dad told us is for our own good. And what's all the commandments that God gives us is for our own good. It's not for His. Not one of His commandments is for Him. Every one of them is for us. We take them that we have to do this. He's trying to protect us. He's not trying to make us do something we don't want to do. He's trying to keep us from letting our physical wants take over us. And I don't know why I got something out of whack on that verse. But anyway, let's finish up and read 24 through 35. It kind of beats up the last chapter. But let's see. Because know Solomon and his story about how many wives and concubines and his, what got Solomon pulled down in the mud puddle. He talks about a lot all through Proverbs. 23 through 35. For the commandment is 24 through 35. To keep you from the evil woman, from the flattery tongue of seductress. Do not lust after her beauty in your heart, nor let her allure you with her eyelids. For by means of a harlot, a man is reduced to a crust of bread, and an adulteress will pry upon his precious life. Can a man take fire to his bosom, and his clothes not be burned? Can one walk on hot coals, and his feet not be seared? So is he who goes into his neighbor's wife. Whoever touches her shall not be innocent. Whoever touches her shall not be innocent. People do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy himself when he is starving. Yet when he is found, he must restore sevenfold. He may have to give up all the substance of his house. Whoever commits adultery with a woman lacks understanding. He who does so destroys his own soul. Wounds and dishonor he will give, and his reproach will not be wiped away. For jealousy is a husband's fury, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will accept no recompense, nor will he be appeased, though you give him many gifts. Solomon's just, you can tell, he's talking about something he knows a lot about. And don't do it. He says, he's the smartest man in the world, and got him too. Bring up the consequences of sin, all sin, not just adultery. When you break God's commandments, this is what's going to happen. Proverbs 28 chapter, so let's read that. Sometimes he says it a lot clearer. One verse in Proverbs 28. 28 to 23. He who rebukes a man will find more favor afterward than he who flatters with the tongue. So, when we have let the world lead us, my brother-in-law called me out, and I've been called out. And it ain't fun, is it? But it says, you're doing them a favor, you're not doing them